I am Ian Finlayson, joined here with Zac Phillips, and we are talking ball. This is a brand new Toronto-centric baseball podcast where it's all in the name. We're gonna get together, talk ball, obviously from a Toronto perspective, a Canadian perspective. So Jays, MLB, Canadian baseball, the works, and what a time to be starting a Canadian baseball podcast after WBC Canada, the Jays making it to the World Series for the first time in a very long time, right? Ever since 1993, and yeah, it's a great time for baseball north of the border, and we're stoked to be here, giving you guys our analysis, our thoughts, and just talking.
What an absolute dousing we got from the WBC of welcome back to baseball. Just straight, no bars held baseball to the throat. It was insane for the Dominican bat flips to Venezuela's immaculate upset of that's their miracle on ice, right? Like you got to think like it's not quite the same comparison, but it's that magnitude of an upset. Like this is for the Venezuelan country, for people, what a way to start the baseball year. Like just to go from what we're not going to talk about what the Jays fans endured at the end of last season, but to have a nice neutral viewing. We had Canada in there as well, but a nice neutral viewing baseball tournament to start was a good welcome back and a good cleanse for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I know I've seen some pundits out there saying that this was the best World Baseball Classic there was. I would tend to agree with that. Just when you look at the player participation, when you look at the drama, and we are fresh off the finish. We're recording this Wednesday, March the 18th, of Venezuela taking down the big bad United States, and just the magnitude and all the different levels that works on, of course, right? The raw emotion that you saw from Venezuela, like when Eugenio Suarez hit that double, when Palencia, got the strikeout to seal the win there. It was emanating off the screen, really. Like you could feel just how much that meant to those players, to that country that is such a rich baseball country. And really, like, you hear people talk about the way baseball is celebrated in South and Central America, and it's like a big party, right? Like it's raucous. They're like celebrating between innings, and they got chants and drums going and stuff, and like you can really feel it, and I'm really happy for Venezuela.
It's just so different than what people in America are used to associating baseball with. Like especially like Japanese baseball, Latino baseball, like it's just so different than American baseball. And now that the game is becoming so much more global over the last 20 years, you're seeing it leak into the majors. Whereas like 10 years ago, no one would flip their bat. I mean, Jose Bautista flipped his bat and he got punched in the mouth for it. Whereas now you can flip your bat, you can take 45 seconds to run around the bases, you can scream, you can jump, and you're not going to face as much backlash as you did before. So the game is evolving, and it truly is because of the different cultures coming into the sport. And there's no better way to emphasize cultures in the sport than having countries face off best on best. And the fact that I get it. It's like the Olympics every 3 years. Like it's kind of like if you do it every year, it kind of gets away the specialty to it, like the specialness. But man, I can't wait for that next WBC. What did you think of the ending? I know it wasn't quite the storybook ending we had with Shohei striking out Mike Trout with the last one. No robo umps at the WBC. I know Vlad had some comments about that today off camera. He had mentioned like if we have it, why wouldn't we be using it? Like he didn't blame the umpire. Like he said he's human, but everybody in the ballpark knew that that was a ball. So what did you think of how it ended and just the final that game between the Dominican and the US?
Yeah, that's unfortunate, right? It's a shame, like, to see really what was like a perfect advertisement for the ABS system conclude the game between the tournament's two biggest heavyweights. Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. I mean, I would I would say that if the technology is there, it probably should be used at the highest levels, right? And in these tournaments that
I
are
totally
so
agree.
so meaningful.
I like when you look at it, like for the semifinal and the finals, it's totally feasible to, I guess, like the reason they didn't do it is because there's no way that here on Bithram Stadium in Puerto Rico had the technology uh, for ABS, obviously, and like so you would want it to be fair throughout the pools. But maybe for the semifinals and the finals, when we know we're going to be in major league parks, maybe we could like it's a tough line to walk because you didn't use it for the round robin play. How do you introduce it for the final? But I do get the quarrel with wanting to have ABS in play. Like how hard would it have been to get the robots down there in Puerto Rico? We've known this is coming.
Yeah, you wonder how much Major League Baseball would have to extend themselves to outfit here in Bithorn Stadium with ABS technology there. You think it would be feasible, but I don't know. I'm not privy to all the behind the scene going ons and workings of how all that technology is implemented. So yeah, I guess for consistency's sake, we got a an egregious missed call to end the one of the biggest games of the tournament. But yeah, I also wanted to go back and touch on how Canada wrapped things up and how things went down for them. Obviously, playing so well in the pool play, aside from a bit of a slip up and a loss to Panama, but beating Puerto Rico and Cuba at the end there to secure that knockout round berth for the first time in Canadian baseball history at the WBC was a very big deal. That was, I think their stated goal going into the tournament. So huge strides forward there. And then to be rewarded for that effort with, a berth against the U.S. in the quarterfinals, and that's what they get for coming first and winning their pool, right? Because of the U.S. loss to Italy and the whole debacle there. Um, yeah, a little bit unfortunate. My biggest
Tough.
personal takeaway, yeah, man, like my yeah, for me, looking at the way that game against the US went, because obviously, social media, fans kind of, knee-jerk reactions often are a bit more severe and a bit more charged than even in the moment. Sometimes those things can pass and people can look at things a little bit more with a little bit more reason and with a little bit more of a measured eye. But I saw like Josh Naylor and Tyler O'Neill getting absolutely scalded on Twitter, like getting ripped on by a
Oh,
ton of people.
yeah.
And for me, I I don't really feel like that's warranted. I think that
No.
neither of them had good tournaments, but it's this 5 game sample size, right? It's there's not enough
That's
time.
baseball. Like,
That's
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 the
baseball.
saying. Like it's a tournament that brings out a lot of and this isn't an insulting term. It's casual viewers. Like it's just the reality of the situation. They don't understand the ins and the outs of 162 sample size where like baseball is a game of failure. 7 out of 10 times you come to the plate, you're gonna get out and you're gonna get borderline having Hall of Fame numbers. Now, don't get Ian started about average, or we'll be here all day. But you understand the point. So to say that they came up and choked, I mean, that's crazy. But at the end of the day, the optics of second and third, nobody out, uh, tying run in scoring position, obviously. Uh, it's going to strike a nerve with some people for sure, and that's baseball,
Yeah,
as the kids are saying these days.
no, that's baseball, man, and it's yeah, it's definitely tough to stomach. Obviously, Josh Naylor popping that ball up, Tyler O'Neill swing and miss, and then the strikeout there, and then Owen Casey
Yeah,
really battled. He had a really admirable fight there. I think it was a 9 pitch at bat. Where he fended off some really difficult pitches. But yeah, they just weren't able to capitalize on that opportunity and get the job done. And that's how I look at it. Is that they had an
he
opportunity. They had a chance to do that, and they just weren't quite able to get it done. Right? They weren't able to come through in that moment. I compare it to you look at Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for the Jays, for example, which, Canadian baseball fans, that's a pretty easy connection to make between the Canada baseball and the Jays. And he didn't perform very well in his first couple playoff appearances through
No,
2022 and 2023. Didn't hit a home run.
quite the opposite, actually.
Yeah, hardly did anything, and he very quickly garnered this reputation as, oh, he's not clutch. He's not a playoff performer. And we all saw how quickly and sharply that turned around this past playoffs with him setting the record for all-time Blue Jays franchise playoff home runs in a single postseason
And
with 8.
yeah,
So yeah, I think players like Tyler O'Neill and Josh Naylor, they're good Major League Baseball players. If you extrapolate their sample out over 162 games, they're going to play pretty well. They didn't for a few games there. Tough to stomach because of how high leverage and how important that opportunity was for Canada. But that's how things wound up
yeah.
going.
If you want to flame those guys for anything, flame them for the inning against Panama. But I mean, that's spring baseball. There's uh, rust being shaken off, just like us in this first podcast back after some time off. But I'd say
Absolutely, man.
we're firing on all cylinders, just like Canada came back and was able to almost take down the big bad states. But one more thing I wanted to add on the Canada US thing was man, you get to avoid them in your pool play for the first time in WBC history. The tournament organizers are like, you know what? We'll separate you. And they lose to Italy because Mark DeRosa. Well, I'm going to give Mark DeRosa the benefit of the doubt. I think he misspoke. There's no way he actually thought that they were clinched, but the way he put out his lineup was pretty arrogant, and the way he spoke was pretty arrogant. So he had to put his foot in his mouth pretty quick. And they got saved by the Italians after getting screwed by the Italians, which is kind of ironic given the whole Italian culture there in America. But no,
Yeah.
that was the last thing I wanted to say. It was just kind of funny how things work out, and we ended up getting America anyway in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, misspoke and miscalculated are certainly two different things that were said in the same
I
sentence
I
there. So it is
I
it is
know, and
tough
I
to.
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but then I misspoke and I miscalculated and misspoke are very different things. Like they're just two fundamentally at their core different things.
Yeah.
So did you either misspoke or did you like I wish he would have just if you miscalculated, I would have given him more respect if he had just came out and said, "Yeah, I thought we were set because we're America and we're sick." Cool. I I respect that. You know what I mean? But anyway, we can talk about this for a while. Was there anything else from the WBC that we've been on it forever, but it was a good tournament and it deserves its chat for sure. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we moved on?
Yeah, a few points here quick. Just some great pitching stories with Canada, right? Everyone that was following the tournament would be aware of Felipe Omont coming in off the farm, getting
For the
getting
second
dialed back
time.
up into the 90s. Yeah, exactly. I don't know why to me it feels like Felipe Omont, probably because it is the second time, but feels to me like he's like 45 or something. He's only 37 years old. He retired pretty early in
Wow.
his
Yeah.
baseball career. But yeah, that's a cool story. Matt
James
Wilkinson.
Paxton also.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry. Coming off the couch wise. Yeah.
James
Uh
Paxton for sure for coming off the couch. But Matt Wilkinson, also known as
Bug.
Tugboat, was also a big story, right? Coming in late in that game in the U.S. and getting, I think it was an inning and two-thirds, scoreless, getting some big strikeouts there. So yeah, Matt Wilkinson, very cool story. Never reached higher than high A ball.
Yeah,
So
he got a shout out on Pat McAfee show. Tugboat himself got they Pat shouted him out for his performance against the States. So that was pretty cool to see. They were giving him some love. Um,
yeah, that's cool stuff. Noah Skiro, obviously, pitching really well in Canada's first game of the tournament, and he was a cool story. And the Logan Allens, that was a really fun little occurrence as well. The
yeah,
Logan Taylor
that's
Allen of Canada and the Logan Allen of Panama squaring off, doing a stare down across the diamond at each other. Not relenting until they ended up doing rock paper scissors, and Canada's Logan Allen ultimately lost the best of three, and then Canada
screwed the
lost the game
vibes from the
against
start.
exactly. Canada lost
Yeah,
the game against Panama, so that was um, Yeah, it was bad
Rule
omen.
number one of the anthem standoff is you don't lose the anthem standoff. You just don't lose it. If you're gonna take it, you don't lose it. The umpire's gonna have to kick you out of that game before you lose that standoff.
Which I
I
think
mean, I
was
just
what he
said,
was saying was he was
oh,
at risk
oh
of,
yeah,
right?
they'll
Yeah.
they'll come right up to you and they'll get really upset. Like, I'm not moving. I don't care. You'll leave. You'll watch this one from the parking lot, pal.
And if I
And so
remember
it's like
correctly,
it gets pretty pressurous. Like,
yeah, if I remember correctly, I think I saw that Panama's Logan Allen, because of the pitch count restrictions, wasn't eligible to pitch in that game anyway, and Canada's Logan Allen was. And so really, I mean, he lost the rock, paper, scissors anyway. So, it ended up being a
yeah,
moot point. But there was one guy who stood to lose more in that standoff than the other. Um,
that's for sure.
Again, really quickly
He
ripping through.
Sorry, before you move on, I'm pretty sure I saw today Shai Davidi reported that he parlayed his performance into a contract uh with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm just going to double check that, but pretty cool that some of these guys are showing out at the WBC and part like, literally turning it into yeah, it's with the Dodgers. So congrats to Logan Allen for making something out of nothing, really. That's how you take advantage of your opportunity.
Yeah, I did see that ultimately got him a contract. So that is very cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's good for Logan Allen. Next time win the rock paper scissors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're definitely not getting him off his standoff skills, that's for sure.
Yeah, less time in bullpens and pitcher meetings, more time perfecting the rock paper scissors strategy. That's what we prescribe for Logan Allen for the next WBC. But Jameson Taillon looked super good. He had a brilliant outing against Panama as well that same game. I did some digging because like it looked like he was picking the edge like crazy, and he had like over a 70% edge rate in that game, which MLB average is 43%. He threw, I think it was 41 of his 58 pitches for strikes. And Tyon, I feel like kind of is a bit of an under the radar and an underrated starter. Like if you look at his results, his ERA the last couple of years in the mid to low threes. Um, he is like kind of that rare breed in the same ilk as like Chris Bassett or Seth Lugo, where it's a bit more of a kitchen sink, like six pitch mix, not going to overpower you, like low strikeout rate, but also like minuscule walk rate, and he really lives off like deception and fooling hitters with his sequencing. So I find Tyon to be a
He lives
cool
off
pitcher.
pitching.
Yeah, it lives off pit exactly the art of pitching, and yeah, he did that in the WBC. Like his command and control was pinpoint. So that was cool to see.
No,
Um,
it's he's got I mean, awesome story. He was a former 11th overall pick. Sorry, second overall pick in the uh 2010 draft, and he battled through prostate cancer. So to get back on the mound a few times, he's battled through a lot of injuries, but most notably, it was prostate cancer. So to see him still out there dotting is quite literally is pretty awesome.
yeah, that is Tyne does have a really great story. He represented Canada too. This was reported by Shadowvidi as well, because his grandmother immigrated as a refugee from Hungary after the Second World War, and they found a life in Canada. Um, he's from down in like lived in Florida growing up, I believe, but he used to come visit
Lakeland, yeah.
Canada. Yeah, he used to come visit Canada in
Hmm.
summers in the Ottawa area. I want to say like Cornwall or something like that. They used to come up there and visit during the summers, and he would spend time here with family. So yeah, cool connection and always meaningful when players want to come represent a country they have ties to. So yeah, it's nice to see both the performance and the cool backstory from James Ty there. Um, the last few WBC things that I wanted to touch on are just the Blue Jays connections and Blue Jays performances. Obviously, Andres Jimenez ends up, winning with Venezuela. Very cool for him. Didn't maybe perform the best, at least offensively, in the WBC, but still. a champion, right? So cheers
Yeah.
to Andres Jimenez. Same thing. I'm gonna gloss over the poor performances here with just a little bit of homerism, I guess. But Kazuma Okamoto also didn't have the best results for Japan, but he has conversely looked very good for the Blue Jays in spring training. So we'll um, you know
Yeah.
cast aside the
But
WBC small sample a little bit.
the only time you look at small sample sizes is when they're good.
Yeah, exactly. Selective small sample size
Exactly.
evaluation.
Like
And
Vlad being left off the all WBC team at first was kind of crazy. I mean, I get it. Kind of. I think it was Arias that ended up at one bag instead of Vlad, so I kind of
yeah,
understand. But Vlad had a pretty good tournament himself, so he just missed the snub there.
yeah, I mean that was of course another person on this list here. I think he had five extra base hits, three doubles, two homers. He was 8 for 18. A big thing that stuck out for me with Vlad is that he didn't strike out once in the
And
WBC.
and he's
Like,
and when he was getting out, they were hard outs. Like they're
oh
usually
yeah,
like not that Vlad ever gets out soft, but it's like and the Hoff and then bombs he was hitting, like it just looked like Vlad, and it was like, hey, we're good here. We've
it
seen
looked
all we
like
need to see from him.
it looked like the Vlad that we saw in October, right? It looked like October Vlad is still hanging around, so that is very promising for the Blue Jays. And not striking out, and you're going up against the United States with Paul Skeens pitching, with Griffin Jackson, Garrett Whitlock coming out of the bullpen, which are two of the best relievers in baseball when evaluating by strikeout rate and strikeout minus walk rate. So yeah, to put up that kind of performance, not just in general, but against some of the best pitching on the planet. Um, yeah, got to give Vlad
Yeah,
some credit
I
there.
mean, yeah, just I just can't help but think that that DR lineup, after it's all said and done, was the best lineup in that tournament. And I know baseball doesn't always crown the best team, but after watching that entire tournament, would you agree that top to bottom, the just the way they performed, I guess I know the American lineup is just sickening, but the way they performed in the entire tournament, that DR lineup was just lights out.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because you were hearing that a lot. I know I was hearing that the DR lineup was the best a lot. When you stack them up side by side with the Americans, kind of hard to pick one. Like you still have the American League MVP and the runner up in Judge and Raleigh both on the US. You have Schwarber who hit 56 bombs last year. Yeah, the US lineup was still I would say equally stacked. Like it's hard to pick one or the other. The Dominican lineup, like if it is a tie though, like let's say without actually really getting into the nitty gritty and just kind of leaving it as a toss up between the two, the Dominican lineup I think would win the tiebreaker by how fun they were. Like that's
They won
kind of
that
the
tournament in vibes. If you're Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Dominican, those teams led the tournament in absolute vibes. That's for sure. It was they know. I mean, it's always been a thing around the baseball circle is that the Latino American baseball players, they know how to play baseball and have fun, and it's not disrespectful to the game like the old people yelling at a cloud here in America have been saying for the last 60 years. And it's so awesome to see now for the last 5 years, like we said off the top of the show, that it's finally seeping into into everyday baseball, and it's just only going to make people want to watch more. As we've seen from the WBC, it just keeps growing and growing, and there's already hype around the next one, and it just ended. So I hats off to the whoever came back in 2006 where this started really being a thing. It needed to happen that long ago. There's no way they could have started this 10 years ago and it would be where it is today. So I can only imagine where this is going to go for the next 20 years.
yeah, the future is bright for the WBC, most certainly. And then the last Blue Jays WBC connection that I want to touch on, very minor one here, Yariel Rodriguez, who obviously was outrighted off the Blue Jays roster in the offseason. It looked like he was, still got a camp invite with the team to compete for a spot in the bullpen, but appeared that he was on the outside looking in as far as that mix there. and he performed great for Cuba. He actually, if this is another stat that stuck out to me along with the Vlad no strikeouts. He actually led all pitchers, not all relievers, all pitchers at the World Baseball Classic in strikeouts through pool play. Obviously, other pitchers surpassed him later in the tournament, but he still ended up tied for third with 10 strikeouts, tied with Mason Miller there. Um, so yeah, really great performance from him. I think his rhythm got a little bit predictable on the mound throughout the end of last season. The stuff was diminished a little bit. He did pitch a ton of innings for the Jays last year, but good. He was really confident at the WBC. He's always kind of thrived at that tournament, right? Was really attacking the zone, and his stuff looked a little crisper. So hard to say if Wyrod is going to be in that conversation for the Blue Jays bullpen. It still seems like he might be on the periphery, but I don't think his performance at the World Baseball Classic hurt his chances by any means.
No, and like we'll dive into a little bit when we talk about the starters is the attrition of 162 is going to open up a spot for him, no doubt, and potentially not on the Blue Jays. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out with if he does get called up, having to get sent back down. Like he's going to be one of those guys where uh, keep an eye on his movement, roster movement is what I'm trying to get at. Where like somebody like a Braden Fisher might get sent down in AAA because he's got options left. So it's like Yariel's got nothing, and he's going to have to go through waivers again. So if he does come up and he's pitching well, and then the guy who he replaced comes off the injured list, well, then they're going to have a decision to make.
Yeah. So you mentioned attrition there. The Blue Jays have experienced it already. The rotation was in a spot that most people that are familiar with baseball would think would be impossible to get to earlier in the spring, and that's they have too much pitching, which is obviously a myth, and very quickly was dispelled with first at the beginning of spring training at the outset. Shane Bieber is ramping up slowly, won't be ready for opening day due to forearm fatigue. Jose Barrios obviously was on the injured list for the first time in his career at the end of last season, and now boom, he's gone and seen Dr. Keith Meister. He avoided the worst case scenario, but has it's a stress fracture in his elbow, is what was announced this morning on Wednesday. So Jose Barrios also not going to be ready for opening day. Just like that, the talk of a 6-man rotation. It's very quickly gone down the drain. And even though the Jays might have 6 starters, when you look at Gosman opening day, it's going to be Cease after that. You're looking at Cody Ponce. You're looking at Max Scherzer, Trey Savage, who's ramping up slowly, and you have Eric Lauer, so still 6. But that's the other piece of this puzzle is Savage not quite ready, looking like it's probably going to be a piggyback scenario with him.
Yeah, it's funny how the whole conversation about the starting pitcher has really shifted in a matter of weeks, like everybody has predicted it would. It's you hear all the talk about the additions, and it's like, oh, there's too many, it's too many, and then you would hear some pushback, and we're like, well, just wait, someone will get hurt. Well, someone got hurt, and we didn't even get to the first day of the season. So, it's Dodger style, and it's a good approach to your rotation. It's get as many quality arms as you can get at the start of the year, figure it out when everyone's healthy because not everyone's going to be healthy come September. And the Dodgers have figured it out to a T. I think Blake Snell threw 80 innings last year or something along the lines of that or the year before. Like they're really good at managing their starters so that everyone's peaking when it comes to the playoffs. So it's a long season and if you have 5 guys grinding 160 innings and then you get to October 1st, those guys are gassed. Like there's nothing left in the tank for a 6-week run into November like we saw. So I think it's great to have this much embarrassment of riches, if you will. But as you said, and as we saw, the embarrassment of riches turns into a not a position of need, but a stress test free spot where it's like, don't push here any harder, please. Like we don't want to see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, there's never too much pitching. These things have a way of working themselves out, is the other saying, right? And now the Blue Jays are in a spot where Trey Savage is also in question. He pitched most recently 2 innings and 35 pitches in a sim game. If they wanted to get him into one more spring outing before the season starts, that is hypothetically possible. But that's the spot they're in now. It would just be yeah, single spring outing, or potentially not even if they still want to keep him on backfields. He logged 139 and two-thirds innings last year, up from I believe it was 93 and a third at East Carolina, his last season of college, which is probably as much of a jump as you'd want him to take, on pretty much on the highest end there. So at in his early 20s, just kind of ramping up to the big leagues, especially with that really high arm angle that some people have theorized can place additional stress on the arm. It's understandable that they'd want to slow play him. They slow played his innings last year to get him to be in a spot at the end of the season where he could be in a position to contribute to the stretch run and to the postseason, which obviously worked out very well. Um,
Yeah,
but
nailed that.
yeah, and you look at his pitch counts throughout last season in the minors. He was coming out of the bullpen sometimes. It was shorter outings. It was in that like 50 to 80 pitch range. So it's a smart way to proceed. And if they're able to slow play him this year as well and get him to be at his best later in the season, maybe it will, for them ideally work out. But at the same time, uh, developing a young starter like that with such high end potential upside, you also eventually want him to be that workhorse, right? And be that guy at the front of the rotation. So there is a balance to be struck there for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely had a mixed emotions to this. Sorry, just moving my laptop a bit there. I definitely had some mixed emotions when this was first coming out, how they were slow playing. Like at first, I was kind of the old man yelling at a cloud where it's like, oh, the kid needs to pitch to learn. Like, but I think like you just laid it out how they did so well with it last year. I think you have to give front office a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here that they know that. I mean, they're seeing under the what's under the hood, right? They have all the information that we don't. So I feel like they're able to make a sound decision around his buildup. And like I was just saying about the Dodgers, we don't need Trey to be striking out 10 plus in April. We need Trey to be striking out 10 plus in October. Now we got to get to October, but at the same time, that's what you signed Dylan Cease, who's going to front man this and come in. That's why you have Eric Lauer still stretched out and not in AAA and things along those lines. Like you have this depth to get you to October, and Trey doesn't need to strain himself to help get us there, and he can just
Yeah.
perform when we do get there.
I mean, it
So
was,
I definitely come around on it, but at first I was like, the kid needs to throw,
yeah,
but
yeah, which is
at
understandable.
the end
It's
of the
it's it's
yeah, yeah,
it's an
no, and it's
understandable
like,
position.
and there is a difference between throwing to minor leaguers on a backfield and major leaguers in a game speed setting. Like there's a big difference. So when he comes in April and he's a little shaky, I think people are going to be like, pitchforks out. Why did he take so long? He's awful, but just let the kid shake the rust off. He'll be fine. Like I mean, I don't want to jinx it because we've had our fair share of Manoas here in Toronto, but no stray intended, but that's kind of gone south.
Yeah, and I mean, I know I've heard the beginning of the season, maybe the Jays will even treat it like a bit of a spring training as well, right? Like Savage will still be ramping up. They're going to be playing, the Rockies and the White Sox and the A's, and the A's are better now, but there might be a little bit of leeway there and a little bit of room to ease you Savage in. And I mean, you look at how quickly last season, a month into the year, Easton Lucas is up. Paxton Schultz is making spot starts and coming in as the bulk guy. You're signing your Jose Ureñas of the world to fill innings. So we all know how quickly that box can be opened up. So yeah, the additional depth, having Lauer waiting there, hungry for a rotation spot, by the sounds of all the reporting, waiting in the wings to come in, can never hurt. And the Scherzer signing, if you look at it now, it seemed, like excess at the time. It's looking pretty important. And like he's going to be a big piece of the rotation. You look at his performance in spring so far, through 2 games, not allowing any runs, the fastball sitting, I think it was 94-2 in his first outing. He had ramped up on his own and gotten up to 40 pitches, facing free agent players in his own time because he's Mad Max, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like he's looked brilliant on the mound. He only had 1 strikeout his first time out. I think it was 4 the second outing. I don't have the numbers up in front of me right now, but something along those lines. And yeah, he's looked every bit as on point as he could be. The thumb is apparently a thing of the past. He says he solved that issue and it's no longer bothering him anymore because that was the whole saga for much of the beginning of last year. So really promising stuff from Scherzer.
Yeah, no, I don't expect 140 innings from him, but to have him as the band-aid, like we were just saying, the added depth, you can never be too steep.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
mean, if the Jays
there's
get
a whole
140 innings from him, they're going to be paying him an extra. It won't be the full 10, but I think it'll be 8 or 9 of that 10 million in incentive money, and they would be chomping at the bit to do so. They would love to pay him
I was
that
gonna
money.
I was gonna say back up the Brinks truck, baby, because you can have her. No, the you briefly dropped there how light the schedule was, and that's a topic for the next episode. But that's it's important games there at the start of the year. Heading don't want to be looking second half of the season and staring down some of these tough opponents with a 500 record. But that's another it's another day's conversation for sure.
Yeah, so the last thing that we wanted to get into, talking about Scherzer, talking about results, a quick little game. We want to have some fun on this podcast. So I was just talking about Max Scherzer, his results in spring. Obviously, spring results you always have to take with a sizable grain of salt, considering all the different variables that are at play. The fact that you're going to have a hitter in the box who's working on something he was doing in T work and some kind of swing mechanics and a particular hole in his zone or something like that. And then you have a pitcher who's like trying to introduce an out pitch and throwing a changeup, and neither side of that interaction is behaving how they normally would during the season. So yeah, definitely not um, 1-to-1 and very far from real baseball, I guess, real Major League Baseball. But there are some things that I think you definitely can take away from spring training. And Scherzer's velocity and his ramp up and all of the process stuff around his performance, I think is definitely something that you can take away as a positive. All right, so here we have Talking Balls, little game show segment. We're trying to have some fun here and play a little game to spice up the discourse a little bit. So we're
Put
gonna
me in,
ask,
coach.
damn right. So we're gonna ask real or fake spring training. Obviously, spring training abounds with myths. There's always the player that gained 10, 20, 30, some absurd amount of pounds of muscle. There's always the older veteran who's about to have a resurgent 30 homer season before he trips on a bat and disappears into the never. So yeah, we were here to just break down a little bit, in our opinion, what we should and should not be taking away from spring training. Obviously, we just touched on Max Scherzer. I said I think Scherzer's process in spring training is very real. The velo spike tick up from what we saw, last February, March from him. He's locating very well. The edge rate is something that's essential to his success as he's aged there. So Zach, what do you think? Max Scherzer, the spring results, real or fake?
Uh, the results to me, like we talked about before, don't matter at all, but the outlook of it all is real. Like this is he's 41, as real as a 41-year-old can be. But yeah, to me this is real. Like he's healthy and the velo's there. That's real. End of story, really.
Yeah, the velo is dialed up on the radar gun. We can see the numbers on Statcast. He's touching 95 mid 90s, and that is something that is very meaningful for his success. Now to the opening day roster. Obviously, in spring training.
Before you move on though, at 41, 95, it's kind of wild, bro. Like
Oh
there's
yeah.
I know like 95 is not even hard anymore, but like that just kind of hit me. That 41-year-olds out there just pumping 95.
No, it's
Anyway,
it's a big deal. That is remarkable. I
it's
think
pretty friggin'
95
crazy. Yeah.
95 is remarkable at any age, let alone 40 41. But
He'll be 42 this season if he stays healthy. He will
yeah,
pitch at the age of 42.
yeah, crazy what some of these guys are able to do. Into their 40s. That's just unfathomable to me. But opening day roster. Obviously, this is a topic that a lot of people like to break down coming into a new season. Who's going to be on the opening day roster? Those kind of fringe spots, the back of the bullpen, the 25th, 26th man, bench spots, and stuff like that. There isn't a ton of conversation around the Jays right now. That last bullpen spot certainly appears to be open now, and yeah, what do you think about the opening day roster decisions in spring? Real or fake, Zach?
So to me, it's kind of uh real because there's been no shifting with the bench. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of been we came into spring expecting, the Nathan Lucases, the Tyler Heinemans, the Davis Schneiders, the Miles Straws to hold the bench. Now, to me, that's still going to be the bench. So I would say it's real in that there's been no change and that's who we want, who we expected to be in there. But one name that has, you know, rocketed, if you will, like his name onto the question board would be Eloy Jimenez, which, you know, 2019, this guy was top of baseball, and now it's 2026. So that's 7 years ago. So I am calling that part of it fake. He's always hit the ball hard. That's like, you know what I mean? Like Eloy Jimenez has always hit the ball hard. Everyone's like, oh, look at the Statcast numbers, look at the barrel rate. That's never been a problem with him. It's the swinging, striking, like swinging, striking out doesn't even begin to describe it. It's like we're talking Murakami K rates here, like 30%. You know what I mean? So to me, that is fake in the sense that he hasn't really shown us anything new. But don't get me wrong, I love the idea of him taking a bench spot and having 5 homers, 6 homers, 7 homers in the first 2 months off the bench. Like, but who comes off? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so Eloy Jimenez, making the roster based on his spring performance aside, as you said, Heineman, Straw, Nathan Lucas, and Davis Schneider is who you would have as the bench, correct? Yeah, and I think that's consensus. What it is probably what it's going to be. Jimenez has said that he's willing to go to AAA and start the season there. So Addison Barger started the season in AAA last year, for example. There's always going to be changes throughout the season. There's going to be attrition, underperformance, things of that nature that shift the landscape of the roster. So who knows if Jimenez ends up being a contributor. Obviously, like you alluded to there, he was once among the very top prospects in baseball, right up there with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in 2019, and had this bright future. He had 30 home runs in his rookie season. So
31. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like obviously he has talent in there. Like you said, strikeout rates, injuries has been the other huge thing that's hampered him throughout his career. So can Eloy put it all together? I know that Arden Zwilling of Sportsnet.ca wrote a great story on him that he was near quitting baseball. Within the last year. So that would be a really fantastic comeback story if he's able to put it together. I would, if we're, jumping from the opening day roster to Jimenez there, I would probably err on the side of fake. Like we talked about, there's guys like um, Joey Votto. We've talked about in past spring trainings. Kevin Kiermaier leading the Jays in homers in spring training a couple of years ago. We look at guys like Greg Bird. Like the spring training performances do not necessarily beget regular season performances. But hey, you never know, right? You can't completely ignore Jimenez and how he's been driving the ball here. But so Jimenez, I will say fake opening day roster to get my answer in for that real quick. I will also say fake. To me, the reason the opening day roster conversation is quote unquote fake is that obviously it's real, the 26 guys that make the roster, but my outlook is that the team is not positioning themselves for the best 26 guys for the next week or month of baseball. They're positioning themselves for the best 40 guys for 162 games. Just look at last year is a great example. Every year is a great example, really. The Jays had Jacob Barnes in their bullpen to start the year last year. Guys like Braden Fisher, who ended up being huge contributors, were in AAA. Alan Roden was on the big league roster to start last year. Addison Barger was in the minors. Will Wagner was on the big league roster to start last year. So there's going to be changes. There's going to be underperformance. There's going to be injuries. Things are going to change. So that's just to be expected. And they're trying to have that depth available. So just because guys aren't on the opening day roster to start, by no means means that they won't be big contributors.
Yeah,
Next,
just to quantify the Eloy chalk there that I was given. I definitely agree with you. He's going to contribute at some point this season. How well, we'll see, is I guess the real question. And I said he had a 30% K rate. He's cut it down. I went and looked. He started at a 26.9, 27. So I wasn't faded, if you will, for going that high. But he's cut it down to he had a 19% in 2023 and 20% in 2024. So if he can keep it down and keep putting the barrel on, then I think the Jays have a lineup that's willing to take on a little swing and miss for a little more pop.
yeah, I almost went to look it up as well, and then I decided to leave it, but it did pop into my head. I think it's a little lower than that.
Yeah,
Yeah, seeing he's running.
30% is just egregious. If you're striking out a third of the time, like that
Yeah,
is like you better be hitting 30 homers and contributing elsewhere, or you're not going to be around for long. But
no, that's a big problem if that's the case for sure. Yeah, 18.6% for him in spring training, which I mean, of course, take from that what you will. But someone that I want to move on to here is someone who is the inverse of a swing and miss guy. It's Kazuma Okamoto, who posted a very low strikeout rate, identical 11.3% to his walk rate in the MPB last year. And Kazuma Okamoto, in my estimation, what he's shown in spring training has been very real because the questions were, can he handle third base at major league speeds? Can he fare well against better velocity? And just kind of getting a look at him. That first home run, obviously we haven't seen a ton of him in spring training. He was also away at the World Baseball Classic, where, as we touched on, he didn't fare as well. But that first home run, even that he hit off Clay Holmes, breaking ball down and away, 1-2 count. He waits back and absolutely tags it to the deepest part of the park and center. Crushed the ball there. He's made, to my count, at least three above average defensive plays. There was another one today where he made a diving play and he bounced the throw over to first, one hop, but it was a tough throw from kind of like deep in the hole at third. So yeah, what I've seen from Kazuma Okamoto, the way he's handled himself at third, the way that he's handling major league pitching so far, that is very real to me.
No, I totally agree. Controversy is good for the viewer, if you will, but there's none here. I can tell you that. I think just echoing everything you said, man. It's one of those beautiful, sweet, silky, smooth swings that you just can't wait to see how at the end of the day, you have to see how it translates. Like it is harder pitching. Like guys are taller here in the majors, like just on average. It's a high release point. Um, Breaking pitches, they move differently. They're not as sharp or like it's just a completely different vast bulk. There's more pitchers you've got to learn, is what I'm trying to say. Like it's uh it's gonna be a learning curve. So he's got 162 to figure it out. And if there's the first month is looking a little rough and he's hitting eighth and he's hitting he's probably gonna start in the seven hole. Um or if and around there. If just to kind of like if sneak him in there, like, oh shit, Okamoto's coming at me. Like we'll see how they end up constructing the lineup. It's going to be one of my uh, favorite things of opening day to see how they run it out. But yeah, no, I think everything we've seen with him is real. The glove on the defensive side um, of things is like at the 2023 WBC, Murakami played third base and he played first base. And now when they're both coming over into the majors and you're looking at, well, who has the better glove? I've heard a lot of people say that Okamoto has a better glove, and you're going to see them hide Murakami at first base in Chicago. So it's interesting. We were talking off air too, just kind of the narrative around his glove and how it's come to be. When I mean, what we've seen in spring so far, like we said, small sample. You always have to remember that. Sounds like a broken record when we talk spring. I can't wait till it's over and we get to the real stuff. But yeah, it's looking good, man. It's looking like a wise investment.
Yeah, yeah. The one last thing I'll say about Okamoto there, as far as it looking good, is like obviously, like you said, learning curve, new league. Like there is a pretty wide range of outcomes you'd have to think in how things pan out here with him. But from what I've seen and understand about him, you'd have to think that the floor is at least relatively high between what we've seen from the defense in spring training, along with the plate discipline, his eye and his understanding of the strike zone, and his ability to control that. You got to think like he's at least not like whether he hits 15 homers or 30 homers, like at least like he's going to walk, he's not going to strike out a ton. There's going to be some good stuff in his profile there that allows him to provide at least a solid floor on at the plate. So yeah,
Think
Kazuma
things that
Okamoto.
will help you translate better from Japan or Korea to the majors, like contact ability or a good eye. He's got it. So that's what's going to
Yeah,
help him a lot. It's going to help ease the transition a little bit more if you have that bat to ball skill and the ability to lay off tough pitches,
those
which
are
he's proven he can do.
those are sticky skills. Exactly. Like that's stuff that's gonna translate. So Okamoto, he's looking like a good signing so far for the Jays. We will see how that pans out when the games that count start. And then next, something that has a great deal of bearing on the regular season, injuries, injury concerns. We obviously we were alluding to Trey Savage and his slow ramp up earlier, recording this segment now after the news has come out that Trey Savage is not going to be ready for opening day. He's going on the injured list with a right shoulder impingement that he reported at the beginning of camp to the team. Obviously, something that he's been dealing with throughout the last few weeks here as he's kind of slowly ramped up. He's been throwing off a mound. He's going to continue throwing off a mound next week. He most recently has had two outings over the past couple of weeks where he's two ups and got 35 pitches. So he's still slowly progressing. He's not shut down or anything like that by any means. But the Blue Jays losing their young 22-year-old phenom who absolutely lit it up and set records and absolutely captured the fan base and really had one of the most spectacular rookie performances in MLB postseason history. It's a big hit for the team, undoubtedly, to start the season. Shane Bieber and Jose Barrios also starting on the IL. How, like, I think the big speculation here with probably all three of these guys to varying degrees is how much are the Blue Jays letting us know about these injuries? How, because, we've all seen injuries in spring before that end up, Dalton Varsho last year, Josh Donaldson with his calf back in 2017, that you know, it starts off and it's supposed to be a couple weeks and they're supposed to be staying active and the setbacks and it gets pushed forward and forward. Um, how real is your concern for these injuries?
It sounds like Craig Berube and the Toronto Maple Leafs got a hold of the Blue Jays medical staff and told them how things are done. You don't tell anybody anything here in Toronto. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm concerned in the sense that everyone was talking about, oh, we have so much starting pitching. Look how much starting pitching we have. And now we can't even get a podcast episode through, and we've got another arm on the IL. That's three of them. So we're from 8 to 5. And we were never really at 8 because Bieber was technically slated for the IL, and then Scherzer came. So 8 is, take it with a grain of salt when we say we had 8, but uh, the Blue Jays had 8, excuse me. Uh, so my concern is real, but like I've heard on the broadcast today, Chris LaRue, the radio guy for the Blue Jays, uh, former pitcher, basically said, if you're going to have something, it's a shoulder impingement. And I looked it up and it was like, what is a shoulder impingement? Because I really like, is your shoulder hurt? Like, and basically, yes, it's the range of motion in your shoulder. Like, you can't go up or you like hurt. There's a range where it hurts and there's a range where it doesn't hurt.
So
So
I've actually had a shoulder impingement before. I know very well
there you
exactly
go.
what this is, and I've
So
gone through the rehab process for it. Yeah, I know
and
roughly,
when Trey Savage releases that ball, uh, it's kind of a big deal if his shoulder hurts or not. So, uh, yeah, I'm a little concerned about that. Just I'm glad it looks okay, but let's where there's smoke, there's fire. For Barrios, I mean, a stress fracture, I guess, is the best thing you can have in your elbow. Is it bone? You know what I mean? Like it's not ligament, it's not any muscle. So I guess there's like as long as it heals and he can like is it's a matter of how long he's got to stop throwing. Because if he stops throwing, then he's got to build back up. And if he's already built up right now and ready for opening day, well then you shut down for 2 weeks. You're gonna have to build back up a little bit more. So I guess there's a little concern there as to how long he's actually going to be down for. Is they're gonna have to be careful. But like we alluded to earlier in the episode, the Dodgers approach. We don't need outs in January, or we don't need outs in April. We need outs in October. So play it slow. Let's limp through April. And I mean, Shane Bieber hasn't even thrown in a sim game, I don't think yet. Correct me if I'm
just off
wrong
just
there.
off flat ground. Yeah, that's correct.
That's what I thought. He's just throwing. I think he's thrown from distance off flat ground, but I don't think he's actually thrown off a mound yet. So flow there as well. So it's going to be, Eric Lauer is going to earn himself some money this year, if you will. He's gonna start quite a bit of games where going into the season, I think everybody thought, oh, what are we gonna do with Eric Lauer and Jose Barrios? Like, come around, boys. We need you. Yeah.
I mean, Eric Lauer was huge for the Blue Jays last year. I believe I can pull it up here quick, but he logged like the sixth most innings or something on the team. It might have even been more than that. And yeah, they're going to need him to eat a lot of innings again here at the start of the season. He came out and was saying that he wanted to start for this team. Fourth most innings. Sorry, I'll correct myself. Last year on the Blue Jays. Um, And yeah, he's going to have to play a big role again here. He said in spring training that he wants to start for the team. That's his goal. He's getting his wish now. He's commanding, like, obviously he doesn't have incredible eye-popping stuff, but his command and control was essential to his success last year, and he's going to have to be very fine again in order to achieve those same good results. So yeah, Eric Lauer, very important for the Blue Jays, something to monitor. To put a bow on this, we already got our contentious topic out of the way earlier with opening day rosters. So yeah, again, I got to agree with you. I think the injury concerns are real. It's so hard to say with these things. They can quickly snowball into setbacks as players compensate with other muscle groups and parts of their body. It's all connected, right? So certain injuries can lead to others, as we saw with Max Scherzer and his thumb, and then it's the forearm and the back and other things. So yeah, obviously, if everything goes according to plan for those three pitchers, then the Jays will have a ton of depth and be in a great place. But that is the 99th percentile outcome, and not often how things wind up. So we will see how the rotation pans out. And yeah, that depth that has been so thoroughly discussed already coming in very much in handy. Um, the final topic here, we've had some huge numbers put up by guys like Dalton Varsho, Addison Barger. Dalton Varsho crushed. Well, maybe not crushed, actually, now that I think about it. Crushed him for opposite field, but he hit a ball out to opposite field off a left-handed
I'd
pitcher
say
today.
crushed.
Yeah,
I'd say
sure.
crushed.
Sure, crushed. He hit a home run off a left-handed pitcher today to opposite field, which, based on my searching on Statcast, I'm not sure if he'd done it in his career. He at least hadn't done it for the last 4 seasons. Um, so I found that to be very impressive. He let the ball travel. He'd only hit four opposite field home runs in the last 3 seasons in general, and none of them were off left-handed pitching. He has 5 home runs in spring training. Addison Barger has also been absolutely destroying baseballs. So yeah,
Miss,
it's been
miss,
great
miss.
results for those guys. So how real, in your opinion, do you think those spring results are for Barger and for Varsho?
I think that for Dalton, it's real because he did miss a lot of time last year. And the fact that the homers aren't going away, I guess is the right term, because he was top three in uh, home runs per plate appearances last season, just based off of how little games he played, but how many bombs he hit. So the fact I was a little worried that that was going to, come back to earth a little bit. But, the fact that he's letting them fly in spring is a good sign where, you know, this might be who Dalton Varsho is. And it's always been known around Varsho that this guy can put the ball in the seats. Like, that's not been a question with him. It's just been about, like, can he do it, on a consistent basis. So if he stays healthy this season, I'm looking forward to how many home runs he can rack up. I don't even want to put a cap on him because what we saw last year. Uh, it was who was it? It was Judge and Raleigh. Cal Raleigh were the only two that had hit more home runs per plate appearance. That's a pretty good
I,
company to be with.
I could be wrong, but I thought that he might have hit more per plate appearance than Judge. I thought it might have just been Raleigh and Stanton,
You
but I
Oh, so
could be.
Stanton's in there too, is he?
Yeah, because he hit a bunch, but he also missed a bunch of time, like Varsho. But in
It,
terms of
the point gets across either way. Like he's top
yeah,
four, top five. Like, although Stanton and Varsho had a lot fewer plate appearances than the other two guys did. With
yeah.
We'll have to keep that in mind, but still, it's an impressive stat for sure.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. Um,
But so that's Varsho's sake, and then Barger. I think he's getting a lot of opportunity in spring, and I think he's taking advantage of that. Um, Obviously, with the guys leaving to the WBC, he's getting ample playing time, um, which is great for him. It's great. I think that he's probably getting his lickings on some lesser quality pitching. Uh, so I would be a little more lenient to say he is more fake than Varsho, even though like they're facing the same staffs here. Like they both didn't go to the WBC. They're both but like just given the two uh in a vacuum, sorry, if you were to take them on their own, I
Yeah.
think that we have to be a little more concerned about Barger.
Okay. Yeah. For I'm gonna give a total cop out answer here, and say that it's it's a mix of both. I think that obviously, yeah, in spring, sometimes you're facing lesser competition than you're accustomed to for guys like Dalton Varsho and Addison Barger and the like. Also, guys are working on stuff in spring, both the hitters and the pitchers. Like Dalton Varsho always talks about trying to hit a ground ball back to the pitcher. Guys might be working on swing plane stuff. They might be working on a certain area of the zone. Pitchers, might be tuning up a new pitch or working on, commanding a pitch in a certain way. They're not necessarily trying to just compete like they are when the scores count towards the standings. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that there could be some errant and noisy results here. Some of the stuff is real though. I'm going to say that Dalton Varsho crushing a home run off Tarek Skubal is certainly pretty real. I'm counting that in my books. Um, but yeah, there's my kind of BS answer to the final question. And that's gonna do it too for the first ever episode of Talking Ball Toronto. Thank you for joining us while we kick back and talk about mostly Blue Jays and some uh worldwide World Baseball Classic baseball. This has been a great time. We're super excited to kick off this year, with a bang and really dig into this new exciting season of Blue Jays baseball coming off. Really the most compelling and most moving Blue Jays season of our lives. So excited for anyone and everyone to come along for the journey with us. We got some interesting content planned. So yeah, very very excited to see how everything pans out in the unscripted theater that is baseball.
Oh, bang.